This is the WHTC Morning News with Gary Stevens and Peg McNichol on 99.7, 1450 WHTC and WHTC.com.
And welcome back to the WHTC Morning News for this Tuesday, October 26th. Tuesday mornings, we have a chance to catch up with what is going on in Washington with the 18-term Republican U.S. House Representative from St. Joseph, who represents, at this point, Allegan County in the U.S. House. Fred Upton joins us via the Zoom connection. Fred, good morning. Hope all is well with you and your family.
Yeah, it is. All is well. Hopefully yours is too.
It is, and let's talk about some of the issues. We are about 4 weeks or so away from Thanksgiving, and there is growing concern, Fred, about among consumers that the holiday season could be impacted by a perfect storm of increased demand and lack of supply. Nearly every item that makes up a traditional Thanksgiving meal will cost more this year. Market analysts say turkey is on track to break the price per pound record set back in 2015. It's not just the soaring price of food. The nation's supply chain is struggling, triggering fears of empty shelves and slow delivery times ahead of Christmas. Fred, I know you can't do anything about demand. You can certainly do something about supply, as in supply chain.
Well, that's right. It is a real concern. I'm just glad that for us, for Thanksgiving, our turkeys are going to come from Ottawa County. we got some great turkey producers here in West Michigan. So we'll see what the price does. But you're right. The supply chain is mounting concern. And, most ports around the world operate 24/7 until just the last couple of weeks. Ours didn't operate. They only operated for 16 hours a day, not 24 hours a day. But there's another issue is now that they are operating 24/7. A lot of those transit points where they send the products to, in fact, are still closed. So until, it's an overall issue of where are the workers? We need more truck drivers. We need more supply centers. Now, all of that has really gummed up the works, I guess you could say. And we have hundreds of thousands of containers, off particularly our West Coast, and it's going to be difficult to get those home to us by Christmas, the way things are going.
So the Ocean Shipping Reform Act, you're a part of that, might be a long-term solution to this supply chain bottleneck issue.
Well, we hope that it will be. Certainly there's more attention now put on it. This is bipartisan legislation. But we've also seen costs dramatically increase for unloading these containers, which only adds, of course, to inflation and the bill that consumers ultimately pay. So this needs real attention. I'm hoping that this legislation can help, whether it's auto parts or appliances. I mean, a whole host of things. Food, toys, they're already talking about for Christmas. All of these things are stuck on the container ships off the coast, and we've got to get them delivered. It should have been realized long before now.
Now, another item that goes along with the bottleneck in the supply chain is dealing with the semiconductor shortage and what is this? Creating helpful incentives for the production of semiconductors for America Act, or Chips for America Act. You're trying to get the House leadership to move on this legislation.
Well, the Senate has already passed this bill. There's no reason why we can't do it as well. And let's face it, with artificial intelligence, AI, chips are mighty important. The auto industry, I think most say, probably made a big mistake when COVID started. They thought that car sales would drop dramatically. They didn't. And so they're caught with their pants down in terms of not having enough chips. That stopped the production of a good number of vehicles across the country, laying off the production lines. But it just goes back to the basic issue of we don't have enough parts to build these cars. So whether it be chips or axles or anything else, we're not, as the economy has begun to roar back, we don't have the workers to produce these parts, which is really producing increasing those supply chain issues that impact all of us. Couple that with inflation, higher prices, whether you're going to a hardware store like Lowe's or Home Depot, all of those costs are going up. And of course, we see that with our grocery stores as well.
Now, some might say, well, let's see if we can produce more of these materials in the United States, make them domestic so we don't have to rely on the imports. But the problem is, if it's going to be made domestically, for the most part, it's going to cost a little bit more. And people will make a decision. Do I want to spend more for something domestically made or spend less for something that is as good? They'll vote with their pocketbooks more than vote for their loyalty to the old red, white, and blue.
Well, and we also know there's supply chain issues with rare earth material and others that simply we don't have in this country. So we saw that firsthand when we were dealing with the PPE, personal protection equipment, at the height of COVID early on, where we didn't have enough masks and ventilators, all those different things. So a number of companies, in fact, changed their production so that we could actually produce it here. I think we need some incentives to bring those jobs here so we don't have to rely on countries overseas, particularly China.
Now, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and you have helped in terms of the PALS Act, or the Protecting Access to Life-Saving Screenings Act in the House. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, this has been a real issue with COVID. People, for obvious reasons, have stayed out of medical facilities because of the fear of getting COVID, or a real fear, by the way. And so those screenings have declined. And without, we know one way to beat cancer is early screening, early prevention. Those things truly help. And if people haven't been screened, they're not going to know that they have cancer, so that when they do find out, it's advanced, maybe too late. The treatment's going to be a lot more severe. For sure. And so we're trying to move this bill, which would allow for early screening for all cancers, so particularly lung cancer, and get that to the president's desk. We had a good hearing last week. Republicans and Democrats, we got another hearing this morning. There are a lot of things that I think we can do on a bipartisan basis. Early screening is one of those things, particularly as we're finding better cures for cancer. Some exciting news today. I was just watching NBC, and it's probably being aired right now, but the teaser was real advances on breast cancer. Let's hope that those come about, but we also know that we need that screening to take place for all families.
Yeah, and of course, one of the things that you've been saying a lot about is the fact that the 21st Century Cures, and now 21st Century Cures 2.0, has been helpful in getting some of these needed vaccines and needed cures to market quicker and safer.
Well, that's right. And we're hoping still this week, I've been saying this now for the last week or two, 21st Century Cures, which President Obama signed back in 2016, did speed up the approval of drugs and devices. We're working on the next version. That's 2.0, same partner, Diana DeGette, my colleague. But our glitch has been, all this talk on infrastructure. We may be dealing with a multi-trillion-dollar bill literally in the next week or two. Someone's got to write the thousands of pages of legislation. That's called legislative counsel. And in the meantime, they're not answering the phone for any other requests for legislation that needs to be written correctly to get it done. So we've got just a very small piece left to be able to introduce our 2.0 bill. And I'm hoping that they'll give us that final language today so that we can introduce it tomorrow, and we can get on to moving this bill also to the president before the end of the year, particularly knowing that we've got a new agency, a new department within the NIH that we've been working with the White House on to be more nimble, to really follow some of these breakthrough cures and drugs called ARPA-H. We've got $3 billion already approved in the House. Now we have to make sure that it's governed correctly, and it will be with our 2.0 bill.
Fred Upton joins us Tuesday mornings to talk about things going on in Washington, a little logistics here. I'm going to be taking next week off. Scott Watson will be joining you. And I think let's just say for ease of everything, a phone chat with Scott next Tuesday, if you are able to, would be kind of nice.
Not a problem. We'll figure that.
We'll figure it out. Fred Upton, thank you very much. And I'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Great.
Thank you very much, Fred Upton on 99.7 and 1450 WHTC.